Winspiration, the way to the essential. On UK Health Radio, Winspiration brings wisdom and information for an extraordinary future. Together, we can shape the world we want to live in. So let's get real and create the idea. Be extraordinary. Hello again to another episode of Winspiration Radio. And we bring you wisdom and information and challenging thoughts, or we can create the extraordinary future. And the guest today, I have the pleasure to discuss ideas, especially regards to the upbringing of kids and education of kids, is again the wonderful and energetic Tammy Vallieres. And you know, if you listened here before, we had an episode with her, which was not really planned. We just recorded a talk we had, but it was so exciting, and a lot of people gave us the feedback. Wow, wonderful. I would love to meet her, the energy on can we implement what she is doing in her school or with the kids. Today we want to go also a little bit wider and talk about society, so-called adults, what happens, and when in the childhood we create problems, emotional problems, trauma, so whatever, and how important is it not just for education, that you learn to read and write, but also to create healthy lifestyle, healthy society. So welcome back again. Great that you take the time and that we have a chance to chat and share ideas. And when I just jump in, Tammy, we talked last time mainly how you, with your heroes and all these relation to natures, help the kids to really have fun and learning and educate themselves. Are you somehow also involved, let's say, with what I just mentioned, the wider view of where does it go? So if kids are 3, 4, 5 years, how the brain is developed, then 6 years later, what will it do to the adults? What is your experience with that?
Awesome. Well, thank you. I'm honored to be back again, Wolfgang. I love and champion the work that you're doing, who you are, and it's just an honor, privilege to be here with all your guests. And I'm glad you guys wanted me back because I'm excited to be back. So what I'm doing right now, Wolfgang, is, for me, the whole journey of the hero's journey is about going from the ordinary world into becoming and moving into the extraordinary world. So taking classroom learning environments, or even myself, and how do we transition? How do we move from the truth of who we are and building trust in our relationships, transitioning, and then getting over to the transformation of creating these really powerful and beautiful utopian worlds, right? There's these extraordinary worlds, which is what connected us together with Winspiration Day, is we want to just create a new and better world. So I always say it's about taking education to a whole new universe. And how do we do that? So I started this kindergarten masterclass certification because I truly believe prevention over correction. It's way easier to know how to eat, how to think, how to move, how to build virtues and values than to try to undo all those habits and behaviors. The mind is very hard to do. You can do it, but it takes a lot more work. So working at the kindergarten level and helping educators support these children into those results is, I believe, the best way of starting. And the one thing I did in the kindergarten masterclass certification is it's 2 parts to this journey. So the first part is the teacher's journey back to their truth and back to their inner child and stepping into their hero leader. And then when you yourself as the educator are back in that alignment and in that beautiful, strong, confident place and grounded, then you can show up for the children to help them maintain.
Explain a little bit more what you really mean by inner child and the alignment.
Yeah, so I believe we have three parts to ourselves. Our victim, right? When you don't want to take accountability and responsibility and we blame everybody else. Our and we show up sick or sad or I can't do it. And then you've got your villain, which is reaction. You're always trying to blame it on everybody else and you're very reactive, right? And you're aggressive in that form. And we all have both the victim and the villain. But we also have a hero inside of us. That hero who is a leader, who is resilient, who is confident in what they do and how they show up in the world. And so what happens is as we continue to show up, we create behaviors, patterns, and beliefs, right? So I always say, as a teacher, who do I want to show up in my classroom right here, right now? Do I want to show up as my, bully, my villain, and get angry and aggressive at the children because I'm so wired up? Or do I want to complain about everything and complain about the system? Or do I want to be the hero who's thinking about solutions, possibilities, opportunities? So when I come in and my drive to school is very deliberate, I'm grounding, I'm visualizing the day I want to have ahead. I'm getting really calm because I really truly believe that we either bring the calm or we bring the chaos wherever we go. And energy is contagious. So, if somebody comes in and they're angry and they're slamming things and getting angry, they can change the mood of everybody in the room. But if somebody comes in joyful and fun and playful and spirited, we can also change that. And if we come in calm and peaceful and grounded, then if we have little bodies, right? Or if we have education partners that are in a chaotic environment, we can help to ground them with our energy. So everything is all around mindfulness.
Mindfulness, or I would say, is really being not only just aware, being really conscious and understanding. I would, in my language, I wouldn't say it as a hero, because hero has also kind of judgment. This is a special person. We are all special and because unique. I just simply would say it's a true self. And like,
Absolutely.
if it's a victim, so okay, that is a created persona. I call it subpersonality. You just somehow restricted. You don't live your true self, however it happened. And on the other side, if you even if you're a so-called adult and just full of rage or whatever, and stress the other people, then it's just still the wounded child, just in an adult body, and just try to go with the power. So in the end, so we can agree it's about really our true nature. And if we go with consciousness, we can connect, even if we enter this. Maybe this is what you mean by alignment. We will find out. Kind of even non-duality. But living on the duality level, we always in the kind of conflict. I'm the good person or the bad person.
Right.
So that it needs consciousness to understand that I can choose how I want to show up. Like I said, how do I go in the classroom? Yep, sense.
I use storytelling because we use associations, right? So for children, especially if they don't maybe understand the truth of who they are, like I always refer to, this is the truth of who we are. We were born purposeful, complete, resourceful, and all-knowing. This is the truth of who we are and how we show up in the world. However, certain situations, experiences will bring out our victim, will bring out our anger, right? Our villain. Or when we have to help and contribute, we'll bring out our inner hero. So again, when we continue to show up in a role or in our soul over and over and over again, it becomes our pattern, and it becomes who our personal identity and who we believe us to be. So that's
identity, maybe identification, because the true self still is the true identity. But that's wrong with the wording. I wouldn't say in this context, or I'm just trying also to find words, because we have so many words about sickness and problem, but not really about the good stuff. That's also what we really need to develop the right language, and it makes it so much easier. Like it brings out the bad part, or it brings out the victim. Is this really true? Because if my true self, I'm alive, really the true self, maybe the true self has no victim. There is no victim, because it's, in your language, it's a hero. Right. So it can't be. But what happens from society, from childhood, the kids at home, parent, who has really the parents who can do it all right, we disconnect from the true self. So we are not connected anymore. And because of the disconnection, we develop then, as I call it, sub-personality, whatever role. No, in this situation, I decided to be the victim. Or another one decided whatever asshole comes out.
Well, and when you're dealing with children, they have big feelings and they have big emotions, right? And they're trying to understand all this stuff through that communication. And so what I say to them is there is no good or bad feeling, right? But what I articulate to them is I say we have light feelings and we have heavy feelings. Mm-hmm. So this is what a light feeling would feel like when you're happy, when you're joyful, when you're cheerful, when you're inspired. I call it a feather feeling. It's a light feeling. But when it feel heavy, that's a rock feeling, like anger or sadness, right? Our feelings feel light or heavy. And we're also, when you are in your hero, again, it's through association, pictures and imagery for a child, we feel lighter, right? When we feel sick or frustrated or angry, we feel heavy. So again, it's how do you bridge the consciousness, the language from adult to child so that they get it, so that it sticks. And so why I love the hero's journey and the hero is because you think about a healthy hero, you have a growth mindset, their healthy mindset. They're always thinking, what's the solution here? How can I find the solution? They have a beautiful heart. They're always giving back and in contribution, and they're strong and healthy, right? So they've got a healthy gut because they eat healthy. You don't see heroes. So again, it connects it to the head, the heart, and the gut health. And that's their three superpowers. And when they are in alignment with their best self, their hero self, they can create the life of their dreams. They can have the growth mindset. They can do great things in the world. They can eat healthy. And this way they feel light. And when we feel light, we are in fun and flow state. And when we're in that energy and that feeling of everybody feeling fun and in flow and in contribution, what can we do together in collaboration? So again, heroes together as heroes united. So again, it's a storytelling. Children understand story.
Yes, that is super. I'm more the intellectual guy and try to understand it. I wouldn't be the best teacher for the kids, but that's why I love the stories. Just want to understand what it really means, so that I can translate it in my world or my language. And therefore, I have two questions now. The first one was a little bit when you said the kids have emotions.
Yeah.
Is it that adults don't have emotions?
Oh, we all have emotions.
Would we say the adults just didn't allow themselves to show the emotions anymore? They suppress everything. And when you just said the kids, how they work, there's a lot of collaboration, so they can work together. And is this maybe something when we suppress our emotions, our true self, then it's nearly impossible to really work together?
So I have a good example. So I try to make things, like you said, we're not all the best job. Like every animal is the best job to cut down a tree, right? But the beaver can cut down a tree really well. The bird is really good at flying, so you have to be a deliverer, right? So again, we all, as educators, we've all developed a super strength, right? You definitely, your mark is the older intellect and who can connect on that. But how do you break all that powerful information down to a 4 and 5-year-old? That has been my gift and my superpower in being able to do that and deliver that. So one thing I do in how I've been doing this teacher training with my educators, because you have to train the teacher before you can support the child. Yes. And a lot of it is undoing the lies, the belief systems, and coming back to the truth of who they are as an educator first. Mm-hmm. So I teach 3 animals through association. The first one is the goose. So geese fly in a V formation, right? So you got the V formation, and what do? They work in collaboration. So they conserve 70% of their energy if they fly in the V versus flying alone. The other thing too is they share leadership. So when one gets tired, one goes to the back, and they all share in the rotation. So we all have different strengths in leadership. And the other thing is if somebody gets injured or sick, 2 geese go and fall back with it until it either dies or it feels better and it comes back to the team. So when you talk about that, it's like we want to be forming the geese formation. So I use that to talk about collaboration and teamwork and how we can become a better community when we all work in alignment with another. The second one I bring in is beaver. So beaver is all about...
I know that when you teach now and the kids are there listening to the story, and what do you see or experience and difference in the kids? I guess there's some to get it directly, or there's some maybe more resistant or not. What is the experience with the kids when you do this?
It's magic. I teach 3 kindergarten master classes, and I literally have 3 utopia worlds. I come in, I don't have students, I have little leaders. And when you don't have students, you have leaders. Everybody's working in their best. And so I've been doing this for about 6 years and I've mastered it. So it doesn't matter what school I go to, what program I go to, I teach 50 minutes of masterclass. They don't have to do this all day long, but what it does is it builds the skill set that all these skills are transferred and transformed over to every other subject and throughout, because this is how they start to work in the classroom, in other subjects, on the playground. And I don't micromanage children anymore because I empower them. So I always say, like, what is your strength? What is your superpower? And you're going to lead. Once I build the learning environment for that structure, here's the thing. A 4 or 5-year-old can't lead the environment if it's chaotic. But if you create a very calm, cohesive, well-behaved environment, a 4-year-old can lead it. So giving them shared leadership early on creates what? Master leaders. We know if we expose children to skates and skis at 4 or 5, what are they able to do at 8, 9, and 16? So the earlier they get on, but you can't shove a 4-year-old if there's no classroom management in place. So I do the heavy lifting first, create the learning environment, sell them on, you get to be little leaders in my class. And that is the biggest motivation. Intrinsically, they all want to be lead, seen, and heard, because usually they're always spoken down at. And they're leaders.
Yeah.
And I champion them. I say, you guys are the master. You guys are the geniuses. You guys are the 98% genius. Miss Vallieres is only 2%. So you are my masters. And I look to them like, we have kids in dance and gymnastics and breakdancing that I can't do. And when I say to them, okay, be still, and I give them tips, tools, and strategies to create that still and silence, we build their still and silence muscle with meditation, through silence, through the bell formation and all those things. These children can lead an aerobic exercise 10 times better than I can at that age, or a dance, or ballet, or things like that. So I get to leverage all of them. And when I say be still, it is silent within 2 seconds. Every one of them stops and drops because they want to be part of the team. They want to be part of the leadership. They want to be seen and heard. And so it's not an external award, like you're going to get a candy, you're going to get this. They feel so good and so proud of themselves when they get to share and when they get to be in that position. Think about it, kids who all wants to be at the front of the line. They're all going to the same place, but every 4 and 5-year-old wants to be at the front. Why? That is a big clue. Pay attention and then leverage that. That is what does all the heavy lifting for me. So 2 things. Storytelling is powerful. I teach through my stories. The children buy into the story, so I make sure that the stories are mirroring what I want to create in the classroom. And then teach. When a child gets to teach and tell, they learn it. When they're always the passive listener learner, they're not learning at the same part of their brain as when they have to activate it and teach it to somebody else. So giving them shared leadership and giving them the messages through storytelling is how you maximize learning, listening, leadership, and life lessons.
Well, yeah, that sounds interesting, but I still want to know more about the experience, because when we see the society, there's so many things we could think of. Not everybody can be maybe at the beach. Some needs to be in the mountain or second or not everybody can live in this town. And now you say every kid wants to be in front, not number one.
Not initially. It takes time.
Yeah, but not everybody can be number one. So how do they feel, or what is happening if you have 10 and says everybody, okay, gets a chance to share a story or whatever?
It's their strength. So what I say to them is, on this journey, Wolfgang, we're going to go and discover what your super strengths, powers, and interests are, your talents. So not everybody's leading in gymnastics. Not everybody's going to.
And this was whatever, like simply, let's go to cooperation. Want to ask if there are 10 kids, it says now everybody gets a chance to go in front of the class and share the wonderful story or the gift you have to give to the world. So you need to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10. So how is number 8 really happy that it's number 8 now and not the number 1 when it says everybody wants to be a number 1?
Are leaders initially. Most children aren't. You might get 1 or 2 in a classroom that wants to lead and that's confident. And what I also do is I don't call on them. It's organic. I'll find leaders throughout the whole year. So your shy, quiet little girl or boy might not show up in his strength or in his leadership opportunity closer to the end of the year, but they're getting to watch their peers and they're getting their confidence. And part of it is, I always say, I'm here. My job as Miss Vallieres is to help you become the best that you can be and help you find your superpowers and strengths. And that might be, you might find it later, right?
The 2 parts in my ever what I heard on different studies, it is not everybody doesn't want to lead, want to be a part of. Like in my body, I have a liver and a kidney, though they're not fighting really who is liver, who is kidney, or who's nose, or everything. It goes then natural, and some say, okay, maybe it's a 20-80 rule of leading or following, or something. It's 1/3 and 2/3. They want to be just in something, contribute to something bigger than they are, but they don't want to have the role of the boss. But they want to lead their own life. That for sure.
I'll give you an example. So in our teacher training, we've been happening. So again, I've got strong leaders that want to share and everything, right? And they come forth. But I'm saying to my other educators, if you want to show up as a teacher, part of what you lead with is your strengths to your students. So we all want to have something as a teacher, educator, parent to show and model for our students in front of us. So I've had one teacher, and she wasn't clear. So she didn't have the clarity of what her strength is. When we're not clear, we don't feel confident. And if we don't feel confident, we don't want to contribute. So part of me was we're September, October, November, all the way to March now. So I had a conference with her, and I've been always listening and allowing the other teachers to lead and come forth. But we did this, let's do a deeper dive. I want to see what you're really good at. And she said, well, you know what I'm really good at? And her principal shone a light on this too. He's like, you make the most amazing dramatic play centers. And what does that call? And she goes, I call it my small worlds. So she creates these amazing, interactive, small worlds where all these animated characters are on this table, and she brings them to life, and these children get to work with small little characters. Well, as soon as she figured out and had clarity in what she does really well, all of a sudden her contribution to the group and sharing and taking pictures and wanting to do everything. And then now her contribution. So she had clarity first. Then she was able to get a lot of confidence. She was speaking for 15 minutes in the group. Before she would jump off the call, she didn't want to talk. When it came down to it, she was gone. I always knew what it was coming from. And now she is sharing. She's like, can I do a small world for all 6 of the different categories? I'm like, let's just focus on one and keep up. But now she's so confident because we got there, right? So part of that is helping them to figure out. So as well as the teacher, helping every adult on your team, because when every adult knows what they contribute, what they're confident, what they're good at, and what they're clear at, now you've got brain power, and now you've got shared leadership where a lot of everybody is coming to the table. And leadership doesn't have to be in the traditional form. It can be in, like I'll lead an art lesson, right? Or let me share what I did in art. So that's not the same, right?
Yeah. Okay, and I get it. And it's just, for me, it's now, if I go with my feelings, it's just a different way to now you have an adult and dive deeper into and connect them with their true self. And from the true self, like we said, everybody has a special gift. And if it's connected, then, like we say, I serve the world by, so maybe I serve the world by creating little worlds. And then I know who am I. And it's so interesting when I work even with entrepreneurs or so-called adults, when they don't know what to do, lost a job, have no clue what to do. If we bring them to this point, this lady, if she is aligned, no, I serve the world by creating little worlds, she could go everywhere. She could go to kids. She could go management meetings, everywhere with a specialty. Yeah.
And that's our whole job, is we want to help every child discover what is special and unique and give them a voice, give them clarity so that they do find their confidence as soon as we help her find that. And we don't do that in school.
Okay, that sounds interesting, especially also just a different wording. It's the end. It's always about the true self, or we call it the essence. Be totally right who you really are. If I say I'm born as an apple, and I should live an apple life. If I'm born as a tree, I should be the tree, and don't try to be something different. Right. And the strong belief is, and I feel that is your experience, when the kids or even the teachers are doing this, it creates energy, it creates better harmony, and like extraordinary results.
Well, can I share with you, Wolfgang, too? For me, it's when I ask people, what's your superpower, right? And they're like, I don't know, right? They look like a doe in headlights. But if I were to ask every person, what's fish's superpower? They would say, oh, swimming, of course, and birds, flying, and squirrels, climbing a tree. They could name every animals. How do we make it through the entire school system that we don't know what we're super good at or great at? Yeah. And that's where the problem lies, because if you don't know what you're good at, how can you align with a vocation or a profession that you love and that lights you up and that you're naturally? I call it my winning and losing formula. So turtles' losing formula is on land, but it's soon. And if you did the tortoise and the sea turtle, who would win the race? Mm-hmm. But if you put the turtle in water and put the race in the water, who's going to win? So we all have a winning and losing formula. But if, like Einstein said, if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it believes its whole life it's smart, right? It's done. So how do we break those beliefs, and how do we go back into education for educators who are projecting this and don't even know their own super strengths and gifts?
Okay,
that can't be because they don't.
Society a totally different view, because at the moment society is not really interested in developing the natural way of living. It's just we need you for this. No, at the moment we make money with this. We need you in the factory with this, in the office with this. So we train you what we need, and don't care so much who you really are.
Yeah, filling seats. We're not helping them fill roles and their souls, right? Which is really unfortunate.
In the US is similar, like here in Europe, in school, we're looking what they do wrong, and the teacher is marking all this. And in Germany, with red color, wow, here is a mistake, here's a mistake. Don't talk to your neighbor. Don't create good results together. We want to find your failures. And this is not only a problem in developing people, it's just a huge problem. That's why we have so much money to spend in the, I call it sickness industry, because if you're not allowed to live your true self, if you're disconnected from your true self, it's just a matter of which sickness, which disease, which illness you choose.
And I'm going to bring it back there. If you put polar bear in the desert because he didn't know, right? He knows everything about the outer world, but doesn't know his alignment and about himself. That polar bear is going to look very sick. Or same with camel if you send them to the north. So again, when we're in the wrong relationships, we're in the wrong, jobs and vocations, it impacts our relationships, our health, our well-being, and how we show up in our jobs.
Yes. It's very important because two things. First of all, like we just mentioned this, if I'm not connected with my true self, I need to suppress things. I'm disconnected. And this leads to whatever sickness. And at least it weakens the immune system. And that is a big problem that turns against you. The other thing is what modern science says now. We know whatever DNA, or just genes we have. Some say, okay, maybe it looks like you have genes that could be then this sickness or that. But it's just, it could be. It's just maybe. It is not a guarantee. But the genes or what we develop is extremely depending on the environment or the relationships. One is part of it's always an environment as well, the relationship. So how we treat it, and we know it in success stories, we say, oh, yeah, these are the 5 people you spend the most time with. But the environment decides in this way what out of the genes come out. So the genie, yeah, or the sickness.
Well, exactly. And, when I was saying to you, I have 3 animals that I help to ground my teachers and students and educators. I talked about the V and the geese, right? You'll remember that story. People will remember, oh, teamwork, teamwork is dream work, right? More hands, less work. And one example I say is there's over 8 billion people on the planet. If we all picked up one piece of garbage, just one, we could solve that issue in a moment. It's when you ask 5 people to pick up all the garbage on the planet, you can't do it. So how do we work smarter, not harder? The second animal I connect with is beaver on structures, foundations, agreements, promises, building trust. That's really important, right? So, your mission, your vision, all the structures, if you don't have a proper structure, your house is going to come down. And the third animal that we talk about in Kindergarten Masterclass is your starfish, which is the truth of who you are. It's your star power. It's that we all have star matter inside of us. And when we align to our North Star, your starfish is in the ocean, at the bottom of the ocean, and that is our inner world. And we connect to our North Star. Our starfish connects to our North Star, and that's our roadmap to stay in alignment. So when I'm giving you these visuals, these images, what it does is it helps you remember it.
Yes.
And those are the 3 animals. So if I said to you, what are my 3 animals? Goose, beaver, and starfish. And you're going to be able to go, oh, yeah, I remember what she's talking about that. Coming back to the truth of who we are, our star matter, and it sticks.
Yes, super with the starfish. We do this with our program, The Essence, really helping people to really go out and find their true self. Then we add on what we call your personal individual life sentence, because that is what really important is for you. Like we call this then the North Star. Then not only that you have it, where you could go, every day you can make decisions so much faster because that's me. And it makes it so easy. You're not tempted all the time or something, or you're not like the boat without a rudder and just and you can really steer to wherever you want, what is the right thing for you. And it makes life so much easier and so more fulfilled and healthy. And the belief is when the individual is healthy, okay, then the group can be healthy as well. And also
making it fun. And the thing is, we know that fun and flow, right, go hand in hand, right? So if it's fun and play, and we know our inner child is when we are in flow, when we lose sense of time. So again, the power of intent. So I use cards, I use animals, I use stories, I use tips and tools to make it more fun and more playful and engaging. Even adults, that's how we learn. You're supporting different multiple intelligence, different love languages. So, the card that I was saying that I pulled is, so let's paint a future the way you want it, beginning with your thoughts, beginning with your intentions. So when I say to the kids, we're going to talk about our starfish, which is about our inner world, and connect it to our North Star, it gives us an intention. And if you get off track, you always come back to that roadmap of where it is you want to go. So you don't ever get lost. It's like your compass. What I've done is I've created 6 compass animals that are our roadmap to our North Star. So you start in the ocean world is our inner world, and it's about this exploration to this outer world and beyond our earth world, but it's our, spiritual world, the bigger world that expands beyond. Yes. So again, it's helping children understand there's so much more to just what we see. And it's about learning about the inner world and outer world and connecting all the dots, because children don't have that. And we have to help them understand it in ways, especially somebody like me who's dyslexic. I need to see the big picture because I don't know how to connect the dots very well. I connect them backwards. I do a lot of reverse engineering and a reverse teaching. I go in and I teach my students. I co-create with them, co-create with the teachers, and then I write my lesson plan out. Why? Because it leaves it organic and allows me to become an expert and try it over and over again before I put it into a plan that I'm going to repeat and deliver again.
Sounds really interesting. Again, when you say kids, I would love to test this with a group of 40-year-old kids. We have
through play, right? Through play, and I'm doing that with my online course.
You know it for the work Bob did and what we are doing with so-called mindset shift and paradigm changing stuff. We really have real adults, and we are not really educated like in the so-called native world. You were 13 and then there was a ritual, and then you were really introduced in the world of the adults. Partly also because the lifespan was only 30 years, so you needed to be a little bit faster. But today, we're all from school, small, and we should stay small, work, do what the boss says and everything, or what the government wants from you. We're still more like the slaves.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's brainwashing, right?
Yes. And there, would really love to test it with a group of 40-year-olds. We have a French guy who wrote a book, I Never Went to School. And he works a lot also with and for kids. And he was once interviewed when he was 42. How is it now as an adult? When you went to school and how your life is. I said, no, I'm not an adult. I'm a 42-year-old kid. So
I love that. And that's why I teach the teachers the same way I teach my kindergartens, because people have heard it, you will never enter heaven's gates without entering through the eyes of a child. Why? What is that? Because children are so free. They live their life so free and liberating. And so part of my journey of bringing people back to their truth is about bringing them back and experiencing everything as their inner child.
Yes, well, that is what Jesus said. It is become like a child again, be open, be curious, and it's the best way to live long and really healthy because they always create new brains. And the simple definition I try to now to create for myself what is an adult is just someone who consciously controls his emotions. If something comes up, it's not the best way now to go and rage or whatever, or what comes up. And like the kids, like you said, they have emotions, they just blur it out.
Right.
But that should be the only thing. Otherwise, we should be, really deal with emotions. And we take with the top 5 regrets of the dying. Number 1 is I didn't live my true self, and number 2 is I didn't allow myself to share emotions. So I was always suppressing. So living the true self and share the emotion, that is also what an adult should do.
One thing I do, Wolfgang, in my classroom is I have built a character called Monster. And Monster has big emotions, and nobody taught Monster how to manage his many emotions. And so what happens is when he gets angry or she gets angry, she doesn't punch people, right? Or she doesn't smash and break things. She goes for a walk or she goes for a run in nature. She might smash shells on the beach or things like that. So we give them tips, tools, and strategies and a story on how to understand that, how to express that. And also I say, is Monster best to talk to somebody when she's in the full on of her emotion? Or does she want to go for a walk first, clear her emotions, get it out, and then come and tap, turn, and talk to her friend, right? So giving kids we can't assume children know how to do that. And then when they get in trouble all the time, and I have one little girl, she was always angry, always sad, and always getting into trouble because she probably didn't have the support at home. Well, giving her these tools and these tips and these strategies has transformed this child's life. Because now she's making more friends. She's getting rewarded in learning, right? She's going home and she has strategies. She's not getting yelled at all the time. How does a child feel when they're constantly being yelled at and screamed at and getting in trouble? We don't give them those tips and tools. It's like if a child was sick and unhealthy and you don't give them proper nutrition and food. Well, what happens is they feel awful, or if you don't bring them to the dentist and they get their tooth fixed. If you don't give them tips, tools, and opportunities to repair it, then they're in that pain or suffering state. So we can't assume, especially when you have a kid, 1 or 2 at home, and then you bring them in and there's 30 children that they all have to get along with, but we don't give them the tips, tools, and strategies. We start teaching them math and language literacy. Yes. It doesn't work.
Yeah, okay. What adults doing, concentrate or discipline, but not explaining what it really is and how to do it.
Right.
Very interesting. So I know you have a concept, you have a lot of written stuff. Do you have already something what we really could just tweak a little bit? And then here comes the booklet for the kids over 30.
So what I'm actually doing, and I led my class today. So I've got 3 countries, 27 educators that I'm helping to create kindergarten masterclass certification training on. And what we've done is we've created this big vision of what we want to create, these super schools and home daycare and home daycare and schools. And then what we're trying to do is create a resource kit. So what I've asked them to do is there's going to be 27 of us, right, around the table. And we're all going to add to this one resource kit. And we're using the letter A. And we're focusing on the animal ant, because what do ants do? They're powerful. They're in every part of the entire world except for Antarctica. And they work in collaboration. And the community and the resources and the fact and the fiction that we're going to play on this. We're going to ask every educator to contribute using their superpowered strengths and interests, a multi-intelligence resource and activity to support this mega resource kit. And they all get to play, and then they all get to teach it, and we all get to experience it and do it. So you'd have the artist brain, you would have financial literacy. We get to rewrite the curriculum and all bring our depth of experiences into this and then get to teach each other. Well, how powerful of a lesson is that? Not only to teach it, but to experience all of everybody's contribution.
Super, but this is more than just the animals. It's just more than the monster. This is more than the three animals.
Well, it's allowing every teacher to come in and, like you say, play and experience it, and also shared leadership, and also show up in what they're good at and their contribution, right? First, we have to love ourselves before we can love others, our community, and our world. Yes. So that's the process too. We have to be clear on what am I really good at? It's like every animal. What is every animal good at before they can be confident and before we can contribute? So to me, that's my biggest focus, is helping everybody step into their personal power and what is it that we're good at, because our school systems have not done a good job in doing that. Again, if you brought a business together, pardon?
Totally different intent. You had the card about intent. The intention. Totally different from school system, from what you were doing. Yes, that is really interesting. But what you shared now, everybody should contribute. If you like, you mentioned before when we just met for this interview about the life entrepreneurship or whatever else you do, because it's not just a few animals, it's getting bigger and bigger, all what you're doing.
Right. Yeah. So we're looking at empowering. So educate, elevate, empower youth. And how do you do that? Through entrepreneurship, right? Through empowering children, helping them understand how they can take life, learning, and go into leadership, and connecting all those dots. Because when you put kids in school and make them everything aware about their outer world, even STEM is all about the outer world, but doesn't help children to understand their inner world or connect. How does my education going to connect me to making a life and living? So what we're doing with kidpreneurship and edupreneurship is about helping children connect the dots right at the beginning. So that's why we have to help them understand. We have to help them do this, like, what is special and unique about you? What can you offer and how can you contribute? And allowing it to come organically and naturally, not forced, right?
Yes, super.
And helping the teachers learn that about themselves, because they're totally in the dark about themselves. So I'm going to ask you, what is your superpower? What do you know? Because you're very well seasoned in this. But what is it? And even all the listeners, what is it that you do, and what are you confident in? If you had to do a conversation or talk to a whole bunch of people, what would you want to lead with?
Okay, what is my superpower? In the English version, I serve the world by creating awareness. I love to show hearts and connect people, situations, and connect other, whatever I was to say, drawers in your brain, and that you can really see the world totally different. See the beauty and the power, like you said, the hero in us, and connect in this way also the true self. Because if we understand really all the power from the universe, all the power we have, if we are like God, so, and you just talked about entrepreneurship. I think, okay, what do you think? Is God an employee and waiting that someone tells him what to do? I don't think so. I think he's more an entrepreneur and decides what he wants. And he runs his company like in a good company, gives everybody the power to do their job on their own.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, we're God's masterpieces, right? So God created each and every one of us, and God is a creator. One of my students said, Miss Vallieres, we are most like God when we do art, because God is a creator and we're creating art. And I was like, oh my God, that's the most profound thing. It was just magic. And one thing I remember about you, Wolfgang, is you're so good at connecting. Like you said, Tammy, when you did the Awaken Your Inner Hero, and you said your little heroes, how are your little heroes using their head, their hearts, and their hands to give back to the world? And I never forgot that. I love the connection of heroes' head, heart, and hands and their contribution. So you had a very beautiful and powerful way to create these inspiring words and thoughts and connections for communities. And that was your intention of having a win-win for everybody. And that's the kind of classroom that we're learning to create, is this, V method is this, shared leadership, and how geese and looking to animals. And because there's so many animals that are in flow, right? Animals know how to naturally, intuitively, they use their intuition to move in that. It's people that if we would allow our intuition to guide us, we wouldn't be in the mess that we're in. But we have forgotten how to connect to our inner wisdom and our intuition.
Here again, we are disconnected from our true self. And the real intuition is nothing else than being connected, and you can get all the information out of the conscious field. Yeah, there's a huge, big conscious, what we really, really are. And if you're not,
that's why I love connecting to animals for kids, because animals know how to do that instinctively, right? Like the whales and the birds and how they migrate.
Yeah.
So it's a story again that sticks, because stories stick, for them to associate it. If you're just talking in facts and information, that you're going to lose a 4 and 5 year old's interest. But if you connect it to an animal or a story, they can grasp it at the youngest of ages, which then puts those belief systems, and they're building off those beliefs instead of having to undo it with all these false truths and lies that we tell children.
Yes. And some workshops I start with a list of lies. Let's go from there. Yes, but we are disconnected, like we said, from the true self, but we are disconnected from nature. We think we need to protect the environment, but not we're belonging to it. And the moment we're really fitting in, and that we are like this, all one, is not just, we're just all one as people. No, the whole nature is one. Yeah, and we can't live without a tree. Yeah. If there's no oxygen for us, who is making it? If there's no water, where does it all come from? All the food comes all from nature, but we shouldn't see it just only as someone who delivers resources, because we give back. If we give our body back, then someone else eats us. Yeah, so it is just the big cycle, and it's great the work you do. And really have this time on planet Earth we have is limited, and really optimize it and not be the victim, really the strength, not living the monster. So really living the superpower that we all can create. And the more we understand this, we can create together what we...
Super worlds.
Yeah.
Well, and that's why I love it what you're saying, because with ant, remember, I'm bringing in an appreciation, a compassion, how important ants in the world. Insects are so important. You think of how ants and insects and bees in the world. So when you build this admiration and you build a deep dive connection and appreciation for the animals in the world, we then can live in harmony with animals and the plants in the world. But we have to reference it.
If you take the insects away, we are gone. We can't.
Right.
Planet is...
Which is why we're doing this.
Yeah. Well, so and I love to continue, especially the booklet for the elderly kids.
We're going to do that together, Wolfgang. Let's plan it.
The deadline is Winspiration 2024, when we do also event with English. The 7th of May is Winspiration Day. This we do in Germany, Berlin, the event, and I'm happy that Johan Ilgenfritz, the founder of UK Health Radio, will be there also sharing his story. And we're grateful that we have the platform to share the ideas in the world, and hopefully this mental virus then goes around and that everybody feels the superpower is connected and working on a great extraordinary future. I hope you got some ideas today out of this. And as you know, ideas alone is nothing. Just start applying something. We need to bring it into reality. Just dreaming about it is not just about living it. So have a good time, have a great life, enjoy life, and looking forward to have you in the next episode. This was another episode of Winspiration, Wisdom and Information to support you getting out of illusions, false identifications, limiting beliefs. We all have the power and potential to be more, do more, have more, give more. Reality is what is possible in the universe, and the best is yet to come. If you want to dive deeper into possibilities of creating the extraordinary future, go to winspiration.global or to wolfgangsonnenburg.com. More information and some free downloads like the email program Dream Goals Reality or a copy of the book The Best Is Yet to Come can be found on the UK Health Radio website under the Listen on Demand and Presenters section. Join us again next week on the Winspiration Show for more wisdom and information to create your extraordinary future.